Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Congress is pushing and asking the tough questions. Did the military, the DOD, mishandle and potentially have negative consequences from vaccines, essentially vaccine injuries through the DOD? That's the question. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. I have a video that I somehow found this, and this is interesting. The fact that they're having this conversation at the Congress is just amazing. And asking these tough questions is, I think it's the right track, because I know most of us go, wow, man, I got a lot of shots going through the lines, and I don't know how good that could have possibly been. So let's shine a little light on it and see what sort of answers we get, or what sort of smoke and mirrors we could potentially get as well. But I like the direction, so please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, show a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. I really do appreciate all you members so very much. I do my best to get back to you in the comments, and let's go.
Vaccine injuries.
Congressman, no.
So who is Lieutenant Ted Macy?
Congressman,
What kind
I don't
of
know the
question
lieutenant.
was that?
Well,
so
sort of the reason we're here.
Let's do it again.
That is the divisive activity so we see some of the most divisive rhetoric.
All right, so it's going to roll into it again. I just wanted to rewind it here.
Dr. Martinez Lopez, is the Department of Defense covering up vaccine injuries?
Congressman, no.
So who is Lieutenant Ted Macy?
Congressman, I don't know the lieutenant.
Well, it's sort of the reason we're here. On November 27, 2023, Navy Medical Corps Officer Lieutenant Ted Macy shared a video on X where he expressed grave concern for his patients suffering after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. And according to Lieutenant Macy, he tried reporting the DOD data from the DMED system to his superiors, and he was subsequently silenced and punished. He lost access to the DMED system. He's been removed from seeing his patients and has been relegated to some broom closet somewhere to continue his service.
Wow. Wow. Now, I'd love to hear any of your stories that are similar to that, either to yourself or to somebody that you may know who tried to do the right thing and basically got squashed. So the fact that the lieutenant had a desire, right, to do that, and even a lieutenant in the Navy, right? So we're not talking about an 06. So it's was a brave move, knowing that the career could be hampered, if you will.
It seems to me that Lieutenant Macy has suffered more than the people who screwed up the DMED system. So why is this person being punished for trying to showcase data that was alarming?
Congressman, I'm not prepared to talk about specifics on the lieutenant because I really don't know, but I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding the system of the vaccines and our findings.
Well, right, part of the system and the vaccines and how we conduct oversight is that if there are whistleblowers who say that you're not doing your job right, and if there are whistleblowers concerned about a cover-up, there's a process by which that has to get to the Inspector General and be reviewed. And in the case of Lieutenant Macy's concerns, those languished for like more than 5 months. Do you have any reason why a request made through the chain of command to view this data that could...
And you would think from a medical perspective, adverse effects from, in this case, the COVID vaccine, adverse effects should be reported, ran up the flagpole as quickly as possible because you're continuing to administer these. And if there's an issue, you need to hold back. So I think look, you got to run it through the system, make sure that there's no issues. Is this an isolated event and so forth? You can't stifle that, in my opinion. So I think that the command was wrong, obviously. And I mean, to me, please let me know if you disagree. Let's move on.
Illuminate concerns over vaccine injuries was smothered?
Again, Congressman, I'm not prepared to talk details.
Okay, well,
on the
maybe
lieutenant. I'll have
let's
to
get to
defer
what you're
the
prepared to
Navy.
talk about. Let's get to the actual data that's so concerning, since the people who raise concerns about the data, they get punished and we don't seem to remember them. The hypertensive diseases, up 23% when you compare the 2016 to 2020 averages to cases.
So remember that through the whole COVID vaccine mandates and so forth, there was an uptick in some heart-related issues, and heart-related issues were also listed as a potential side effect, if you will. So hypertension or hypertensive disorders seems to correlate. Now, from a VA perspective and compensation perspective, if you got your shot while you were in and you have hypertension and it's a side effect of the shot, it seems to me that there's a correlation there that should warrant a disability compensation rating. Anyway, let's move on.
In 2021. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
So, okay, so hypertensive disease is up 23%. Then ovarian dysfunction, up 35%. Does that sound right?
I'm not specific.
Does that sound right, Doctor?
So again, if there is evidence out there that shows upticks, that helps you. So for the ovarian situation, if that's you, then you now have a leg to stand on when it comes to being able to file for your disability compensation for that specific ailment. If it shows that, then you work with your doctor. Your doctor now has no problem utilizing that as rationale for a Nexus Letter. Nexus Letter helping you get that service connected with the statement of at least as likely as not. But in this case, you could now probably say more than likely. And if your doctor won't do it, utilize AME, American Medical Experts. They can knock out that Nexus Letter for you. They'll give you a free consultation and also do a DBQ, disability questionnaire, if that is something you need as well. I'll drop the link somewhere, comments and probably description. All right, so let's move on.
Dr. Stallman?
I think you're referencing something from an older document, but it could be.
Oh, I'm referencing data from the Defense Medical Surveillance System. Is that a system that you're both familiar with?
What's the difference between us?
So that is interesting so far on this, and I want to continue on. I'm going to let this little commercial
Service
play
animal
on.
and
but
an
I would
emotional
love
support.
Your thoughts?
Well, a service animal has to.
Yes.
Okay, so that system says that hypertensive disease is up 23%, ovarian dysfunction up 35%, pulmonary embolisms, which as we all know can kill you, up 43%.
43%.
Myocarditis, as Chairman Banks was describing, up 151%. Is it really your testimony that these massive spikes in these serious ailments are a consequence of contracting COVID? Is that your best medical opinion?
Congressman, not all, but I mean, many of them, obviously, ovarian dysfunction, there are other reasons. Emboli, there's other reasons. But yes, there's an influence, there's a correlation, not only from our data, but the data of CDC that yes, correlate COVID with having higher likelihood of having some of
just
these
pardon
events.
me for not treating the CDC
Not the variant
assessment.
one, but the other.
The vaccine or the virus?
Both. The virus, and like the cardiomyopathy is a little bit higher. The risk is much higher if you just get the disease, but you have an enhanced risk, not as big as when you get the infection, but you do get some risk from getting the vaccine. It's minimal, but yes.
So there is vaccine risk associated with hypertensive diseases, right?
Hypertension, help me out. Not that I'm aware of, but
Okay, well, how about ovarian dysfunction?
not that I'm aware of.
And how about pulmonary embolisms?
Yes.
Okay, so you're here giving us testimony that the vaccine increases someone's risk of pulmonary embolism.
No, pulmonary emboli, the COVID virus does
No,
increase.
I'm asking about the vaccine.
No, the vaccine, no,
Okay,
not that I
no.
know of.
No, and myocarditis, you think there is
Yes,
a
sir.
risk?
A slightly higher risk, but it's much higher than if when you get the virus itself, when you get infected.
And to tease out those data distinctions, wouldn't it be responsible to assess these conditions in people who got the disease and were unvaccinated versus the people who got the disease and were vaccinated? Has that type of an analysis been done?
We did look at this in the DOD report on cardiac and kidney conditions. The information stratified by all the different ways, vaccinated, not vaccinated, those are not all included in the report. I do have the data on that. When we reported the 10 times increase rate due to recent infection, that is adjusting for vaccination status. It's also adjusting for demographic risk factors, including age, sex, and BMI.
Right. So did that analyze ovarian dysfunction?
It did not.
Did it analyze pulmonary embolisms?
It did not.
And did it analyze hypertensive diseases?
It did not.
Wow. So let's run this report so we could say that everything looks good. We'll keep out the things that have these huge spikes and we'll go that route and then say that, according to our report, everything's looking pretty good.
Well, I mean, we got thousands more people than the average in 2021 getting hypertensive diseases, thousands more people getting ovarian dysfunction, hundreds more people getting these pulmonary embolisms. What's the case against analyzing those conditions that have seen these increases in the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated?
We are continuing to do surveillance on these conditions, and we are open to doing additional work on this. With chronic conditions, it is tricky to look at that in relation to a vaccine.
Is a pulmonary embolism a chronic condition or is it an acute condition?
We can look at acute condition.
Yeah, Paul, your medical knowledge goes far beyond mine, but I would consider a pulmonary embolism acute, not chronic.
With hypertension, it could be difficult to get causal evidence to link that to the vaccine, but yes, we can look at acute outcomes.
Right, but that's how you get the causal evidence. The reason there are people concerned that the DOD is engaging in a cover-up here is because you seem to be willfully and purposefully ignorant to those comparisons on these ailments that are skyrocketing now. For pregnant women, for people who get pulmonary embolisms, for people with hypertension, and in the one area you've looked, myocarditis, you're here giving testimony that actually causes this increased risk factor. And so, Mr. Chairman, I hope we continue to follow up on this because my deep concern is that there is a cover-up here and that they're playing games with the data so that we can't actually assess whether it's the vaccine or the ailment that is causing these acute conditions. And I mean, wouldn't it be a tragic thing to have to discover that we hurt people with the vaccine more so than the virus did with the ailment, particularly in a condition where now the CDC, whose opinion I guess we treat like the gospel, is saying that you just should quarantine for 24 hours after you're done with your fever. So they have evolving sensibilities on this, and the only way we get to the bottom of it is that data comparison. I thank the chair's indulgence, and I yield back.
All right, so that's some wild stuff, right? So what I want to know from you is what you think. Did the DOD do enough? Have they done enough? Should they do more studies? Should they look into why these things are increasing and really rule out anything? So let's dive into it. Have a great one. See you next time.